on today's episode of I Changed My Entire Background and Now I'm Questioning Everything. We're going to be talking about the books that I read in February and why I hate myself. So the plan for February was to read books off of my Kindle so I could do a challenge between February and March and see, I keep saying like how many books I read, but essentially it's going to be the page count because that's really what matters. So essentially to see the page count and just do a little fun challenge with myself. Because when I first got my Kindle, I was reading on it constantly. And I just came up with the idea and I'm just so smart. So February, I had a plan. I picked out 5 books specifically to read, all by Indigenous authors and about Indigenous people. But the next 5 I randomly chose. And so this was just, I should have planned better. What essentially happened was one of the books that I picked, or that I randomly chose out of the last 5, wasn't out yet. I didn't know that because I just looked on my Goodreads and I put all the names in a randomizer or whatever and chose from there. So I just randomly picked the books and I didn't really look into them too much because I was like, oh, this is going to be fine. No issues at all. You know, I ran into some issues. So one of them hadn't come out yet, so I said that I was gonna like just end up reading another one and like be a surprise. The surprise is I didn't read another one. The thing with so January I read 16 books, right? And that's a lot. That is a lot. And I only read 16 books because I wasn't in school. I only had to worry about work. So I was able to read a lot more and I didn't have a reason to be on my computer. Like I didn't have homework or anything. But now that I had started school in like the middle of January, and working and doing all of these things, it's just so much, especially now that I'm using my computer more and I want to like watch YouTube or watch Netflix and like I'm so easily distracted on my computer. So I did not end up reading as much as I wanted to. And it sucks because I love to read, but I'm gonna explain what I did end up reading. It's not much of a surprise. It's a little bit of a letdown and I'm sorry, but you know, this is real life and this is how it is. So I have my little note card here. I'm gonna set that up. And we'll just go in order. One of the books I couldn't read. Another one of the books I just flat out didn't read, which I'll explain when I get to it. And two of them I DNF'd. Listen, February was not a good month for me. I had so much hope. And look at where that got me. So, okay, I'm going to start with the DNFs. The first one that I did not finish is The Hunting Party. There is so many points of view in this book, and the characters I feel like are not that different, like internally. Like externally, they're supposed to be much different. Like, oh, this one's like really prissy, and this one's shy, and this and that. But internally, they're like way they think and do. I don't know. It's just not different. So I got like 100 or so pages in, and then I like could not keep reading it, so I went to look at Goodreads and I just looked at the lowest ratings, which like the good thing about Goodreads is that they hide spoilers, or you can mark a spoiler. So I wasn't worried about it because at that point I was still going to continue it. And then I started seeing how people were frustrated with the multiple points of view and it was boring and it just didn't do anything for them. And then I like agreed with them. And I'm not the one to force myself through a book that I'm just absolutely not feeling at all, that I have like no other interest in, apart from like the initial like synopsis of it. So at that point, I decided to DNF it, which it is what it is, you know? And the other one was kind of the same thing. It was The Silent Companion. I DNF'd this after, I think, over 100 pages. I don't mind a slow build. I don't mind slowly creepily things happening, which I'll discuss in another book that I really, really liked. But this one was just, to me, so boring, just from where I got. And it's actually one of my friends on Bookstagram. It's one of her favorite books. So I'm going to be giving this another shot eventually. It's definitely going to be something that I'm going to mark down just because she does like it. So obviously I trust her. But for me, for that, it was just too much. And the book's not even that long. Like, I was like, oh, I'll definitely get through this in like a day or two. And then I just kept getting distracted by things. And then it was just like too slow for me. And I wasn't that interested. Like, nothing really grabbed my attention while I was reading. So unfortunately, I had to let it go. I'm very upset about it because I don't like to DNF books a lot. I like to give them the fair chance. And even if it is a 1-star, at least I got through it. But it is what it is. If I'm genuinely like feeling like it's a chore to do it, I'm just going to quit. So the book that I did not get to, which I mentioned in the first one, was Again by E. Lockhart. It wasn't out because I'm an idiot and I didn't check. And I didn't end up filling a book in that space. I'm not going to keep repeating myself, but it was because I was too busy. But I think it's also because I set so much for myself. Like, I set 5 books for sure that I was going to read, and then I gave another 5 to myself, and it just like, maybe it was too much pressure, maybe it was too like stuck in the box, but for me, I need a little bit of room. I need to be like, oh, these are the ones that I'm most interested in, but maybe I'll read other ones, and I think that's what I've kind of figured out. One book that I didn't read at all or start to read or get on my Kindle is Split Tooth by Tanya Tegek. I did not get to this because I had read the first 4 of the 5 Indigenous books, and at that point, it wasn't at all that I was bored with the stories or this or that, because they're all fascinating. But I feel like if you're in one specific sort of, not a genre, because they were all different, but a box, I guess, then it just kind of gets repetitive, if that makes sense, even though like every book is different. Just something to spice it up. So then I started getting into the other books, and then I didn't end up going back to get Split Tooth on the Kindle because I had already ordered it used. So I knew that I was going to have a physical copy, so then I wasn't so worried about getting it on the Kindle and like reading it and stuff. So that is unfortunately a book that I did not read on the Kindle, but in my last video I said that I was going to read it in March, so it is hopefully going to be read this month while I'm filming this because it's March, filming my February wrap-up. And I am still excited about that. So let's actually get on to the books that I finished and I can rate and give my opinion on. Let's start from the lowest rated. So the lowest rated, 3 of these got 3, and that's like the lowest rating that I gave this month, or I guess February, which is good. It's not horrible. The lowest of those 3, I feel like, is The Family Upstairs. The premise was so exciting, you know, about a cult, about a family, there's murder, there's secrecy, there's, I don't know, just so many things that kept you wondering, and there was 3 points of views, and I felt like they were very distinct and written in different ways, and I could keep track of it, you know, it wasn't hard at all, and everything kind of made sense in the end. But for me, like, the very ending of it was just like lackluster. It didn't have that sort of bang that I was anticipating or that was like continuously building up. I wish there was just like something more to it, whether it be a cliffhanger, whether it be a shocking revelation that had never crossed your mind, something, and it just didn't hit it for me. But because I had enjoyed it all the way through is why I gave it like a 3 instead of a 2. But the ending just, it could have been a 4, could have been a 5, but it just didn't do it for me. And when I read the ratings afterwards, I feel like people kind of agreed, some people, that the ending just didn't hit for them. The next 3 that I gave is for Sawkill Girls. Now this I feel like I would have loved in like middle school, like it would have been like a nostalgic thing, because it kind of had that feel. It had that supernatural teenage small town type feel that I love, and I still love that. But I think because I was anticipating maybe a little bit more of a harder read or a little bit more of a scary or whatever I was feeling, I don't even know, just a little bit more. There was nothing inherently wrong with this, but it was very easy. There is, I want to say bi/lesbian representation. I'm not exactly sure, but women loving women, and that's all you need to know, which I appreciated. And I don't think it was fetishized at all. I think it was done in a tasteful way, which is always refreshing to hear. But yeah, nothing really wrong with it. If you want something that is kind of fun and like it's a little bit of a new concept, like I've never read something like that about the specific kind of like supernatural element, which I actually really liked, then I would give it a go. I would recommend this to anyone who likes that kind of like Vampire Diaries or the Night World series or anything kind of like that you know you're not gonna get into it for the brain stimulation, but it is still a very fun read. The last 3 that I gave is for the Marrow Thieves. This one was my most anticipated read for the indigenous part of it. This just, I think that I was expecting more of like a fighting type scenario or action and like adrenaline pumping, whereas I don't think this is a spoiler, but if you're really, really worried, just skip a couple 10-20 seconds. But I was expecting more of that rather than them just like trudging through the woods and worried they were going to get caught but not really getting caught, and then everything kind of being okay. You know what I mean? Like when I had read the synopsis, like, wow, they're being chased for their bone marrow, I was like, oh, this is great. Someone's going to get sent into like one of the buildings and they're going to have to fight their way out. Like that's kind of what I was expecting, or like the fear of being hunted. And it wasn't that crazy from what I was expecting. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe I read too much into it. It's not a bad book at all if you know that it's not going to be like suspenseful or exciting to that extent. Still like this book, and I'm definitely going to be checking out her other stuff because I've seen that Kayla from Books and Lala likes her other books. So I guess we're going to see. Okay, so 2 of the books I gave 4 stars and 1 of them I gave 5. So the lowest 4-star rating was Moon of the Crusted Snow. I adore this book. Now this book, I do have to say, I didn't read it all on the Kindle, and the reason for that is like some of the books I had gotten from the library to take pictures of, just to post on like Bookstagram and stuff. But this one, when I started reading on the Kindle, there were just like certain parts that I couldn't get through and I didn't know what was happening. So then I started reading from the book and I seemed to get through them quicker, and then I just ended up finishing it from the book, which I guess isn't really fair to the challenge. But like I said, February was just a month in itself. It was, I don't even know. But I do own this book. Let's see if I can find it. Do you guys like this bookshelf? I really like it. Oh, don't tell me it's all the way down there. Hold, please. Here she is. Now another thing that I'm gonna do is try and take off all these stinky stickers that are on like some of these books. And then if you guys know how to get, you know, like the library, oh god, where even is one? This one. Like the library plastic off of the thing without ripping the, what is this called? Book cover. I don't know. If you guys know how to do that, please let me know, because I want to take it off. I want to make it look as like new as possible, even though it's not a big deal. But if it's easy enough, then I will. But please help. But I really enjoyed this book. I guess I should tell you why, huh? I shouldn't just say I liked it and move on. I liked it because I knew that it was going to be slow build, and I knew that it wasn't going to be as adrenaline inducing and exciting as some of the other books that I thought were going to be. So this one I was completely fine with. I didn't read too much into it. It is a very, very slow build. And when you find out essentially what's happening in this reservation during like this power outage and like everything, you have so many questions as to why, which never gets answered, by the way. And I love that. Maybe spoiler, but like it's not a big part of the story anyway. The big part of the story is like, who is this visitor that's come upon them? And it was just eerie. It wasn't like you're gonna be shaking and like worried to go to sleep at night or anything, but I just think it was like a very cool concept. And I loved it. I don't know. It's just like, it's my little baby, and I really love this book. And Wabgishik Rice is definitely someone that I'm going to be reading probably all of his things, just because I liked his writing style. I liked his point of view. I liked how simple this story was, but still had so much complexity and so much history. And I don't know. It's just, even though it wasn't a 5-star, even though um, it wasn't perfect in all senses, it still is going to be one of my favorite books. And I love that for me. Okay, so the highest 4-star, I Will Cry. I am going to be buying this book used as soon as I find it. It is There. Oh, what to say? This is the book that I had posted on one of my Bookstagram stories, and I was saying that I just like did not like it, was not vibing with it. I didn't know what it was. There was like multiple points of view, which like this book was very distinct. It was very easy to follow, but the multiple points of view I just didn't like, and I was not like interested in like the first couple chapters. But because I was like, it's First Nations, Indigenous, Native, whatever you want to call it, I was like, I have to, for my ancestors. I was like, I have to get this culture. I have no culture. Like, I don't have any knowledge. You know, my grandfather's documents were burned down in a fire. I don't want to talk about it. But for me, it was important, and it wasn't like it was boring or anything. I just didn't think in the beginning it fit me. Oh, brothers, as soon as I started reading past those first couple chapters, it just like, I was sucked in. I think I finished this in 2 days. I cried in this. It was very like, I think the multiple points of view, especially at the climax of it all, was very necessary, and I think hit a lot harder than just like one point of view would. I don't know, this book, I mean, it made me cry. What else are you gonna ask for? And it was just so like crazy how everything like came together, and like how these different people were like related, and their lives and traditions, or the things that they didn't do. I don't know. It just, this really, I didn't expect to love this book this much. It just hit in a different way. And this is another book. I didn't read it in the library book, like I did with Moon of the Crusted Snow, but I did take pictures of the library book because there was a section that really, really just meant a lot to me. And it was saying, it was kind of like, what's it called, like an interlude. It wasn't a part of necessarily the story as a whole, just about Native culture. And it essentially is said like, we are all Native, and then it said like all the different names that people give, you know, like Indian or American Indian, Native, Indigenous, First Nations, all of these names. And it said, doesn't matter if you're full, half, quarter, 1/8, 1/36, all this stuff, you are us. And oh my God, I literally was like tearing up. And then it goes on to like bloodlines, and it goes on to like last names, and like it had my grandfather's last name, which is Jackson, and it's not like a specific name, you know, but it still like made me feel something to know that it is a connection that I have. And though I'm never going to speak up over visibly brown people in any sense, especially natives, I just know that I am connected, and I have that connection. And it's important to me, literally ever since I was little. It wasn't like I was 16, I was like, ooh, I'm Native. Ever since I was little, like kindergarten, my mom was like, this is who you are. Like, your dad is Irish. My mom's grandmother is Italian, and my mom's grandfather is French, Native, and Black. So it was always like in me, and I always knew that I was Native. So it was just that part of that book, it just spoke to me so much. And if you are someone who, no matter what percentage of Native you are, and you don't have that connection with your culture, or didn't grow up on a reservation, or don't have your aunts and uncles and cousins there because of one reason or another, I just think you need to read this book. It literally like will change your outlook and make you feel more like at peace with being white passing, or not being Native enough, or this and that, and just make you feel like that is where you came from, and you can take pride in it. And we should just lift each other up, you know? And that's that. Okay, so the last one, oh my God, the last one that I gave 5 stars, I mean, what can I really say? It is Johnny Appleseed. This book, it was just, I don't know. I don't know. It just really spoke to me. Not necessarily from a native point of view, but just like from Johnny's point of view. I don't even know how to explain it. Just everything about him and his life and how he grew up and his relationships with people and having to go back to the reservation and how he's struggling. It just like was amazing. And especially because it was written by somebody who is essentially Johnny. They are two-spirit. They are just everything. Like I love them. It was like a, oh my gosh, what's it called? It was like an own voices thing where you could tell that this person had gone through some shit. But it wasn't like autobiographical or anything. It just is very important to be inclusive and to know that there's people of all cultures, and all, you know, races and ethnicities that go through their own struggles and have their own, you know, ways of dealing with things in their own world and in like the world globally. So it was just really important. And it just, I don't know. If I could just kiss Johnny Appleseed on the cheek, I would, and just hold him and put him in a little pocket. I urge you guys to read the last three that I just talked about, but especially Johnny Appleseed and They're There. It's just, it's such a good insight to life, as a native and just like everyday life, but it's also just interesting and it's just fun to read. Maybe not There because I did cry and it was very depressing, but those two books, they're just like my little children, you know, just like my little babies, and I want to hold them forever. But those are all the books that I read in February. That month was something else. So that is going to be the wrap-up video. I'm sure this was riveting and very exciting, and not at all a letdown. Kill me! I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.